What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Acura Audio Garage. Today we continue the DIY Pro Series. We're going to be replacing the factory navigation screen in our Acura TSX with a Android touchscreen that has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This is the final product. So as soon as you boot it up, the navigation screen is going to come up for a couple of seconds. Then it's going to boot into whatever application was being used last. In my case, it is Android Auto. So Android Auto comes right up. Let's say I want to hit the navigation again. So I'm going to go home, go into this, hit front camera. Here's my navigation. Hit OK. The touchscreen does not control the navigation at all. The navigation is still only controlled by this control mechanism here. And then I can go into info and still look at my messages for my diagnostic info. So I know this is a big thing people wanted, and here it is. The only thing is the video doesn't look that great, so I'll go back to the map. It's a little dim. It's just, it is what it is. This is old technology. If you want to keep it, this is what you have to deal with. Now I'm going to show you the old backup camera, which is going to look similar to this, and I'm going to show you the new backup camera. So let me go home. All right, so I'm going to show you the cameras. First, I'm going to show you the OEM cam. It does not look that good. That was the OEM cam. Now I'm going to show you the AHD camera that comes with the screen. So this is the AHD camera. You can see that my angle is smaller, so I only see kind of really immediately behind me, but it's super clear. If you were to mount this camera a little bit more up, you'd see more behind you, but this is how it fits into the factory housing, kind of what you have to deal with. Then let's say you don't want to use this, you just want to leave it, come on, off. You're going to drive, you just want to listen to your own music. So you can put the regular radio, you can use the regular steering wheel controls on your steering wheel to control the radio, switch through your presets, switch the mode. Your call control volumes still work and your navigation controls still work with no issue. So you have no problems with keeping any of the factory functionality. You just simply, when you want to use the screen, switch to XM, double tap, and there we go. The screen is not controlled by the steering wheel controls. The screen is only controlled by your phone and the actual touch screen. So if you want to change the song, you would have to tap here or go on your phone and tap there. For the volume, this is going to stay at a fixed volume, so it's always going to stay at 37, and you can adjust the volume right here or right here. And that's how this works. You get to keep your factory climate information because it shows up right here. You get to keep the factory radio. When you have navigation, all of your speakers still work, your backup camera still works, and your factory navigation still works. So I think this is what people have been asking for a very long time. I want to just upgrade the screen. I don't want to change the radio. Well, here you go. So now that you saw how it works, I'm sure you're asking yourself, hey, how much is it and where can I buy it? So for the where can I buy it part, I recommend getting it from us. And the reason is because what is available on the market right now is not the solution we are offering. I'm going to show you the solution that's available on the market. So they are currently selling this combo, which is sort of what we installed. The screen is similar, the mount is the same. This is for a 2009 to 13 Acura TSX, but they're going to advertise it for a Honda Accord as well. And it's going to come with this set of harnesses. This is meant for a base model, and it intercepts the power from the factory radio. It installs a little differently than ours. So if you have a base model, we'll be doing the install ourselves on our car, but if you have navigation, this isn't going to work the way you expect it to. It's definitely not going to work the way that you saw in video. If you want what you saw in video, you're gonna pick it up from us, and it's gonna come with this harness, and it's going to come with a very specific Android screen. So all of these Android screens are 9 inches, and there are multiple versions that exist from different manufacturers that run different versions of Android and a different implementation of the actual Android interfaces for the CAN bus and things like that. So there's a huge variance in what you're going to get and what's going to work. For example, the factory navigation video conversion doesn't show correctly on some Android screens. We've identified the ones where it works correctly and we've sourced them from that manufacturer, but if you just buy one off eBay, off Amazon, it may not work. The other question you might have is, hey, I don't want to buy the screen from you, etc., blah, blah. Can I buy just the harness? And that's a maybe. We're not sure yet because, again, that video conversion may not work for your specific tablet or Android stereo, and we don't want to get caught in the middle between you and your seller and them telling you, oh no, it's our harness, and us telling you, no, it's the video input of your radio. So that's going to be a maybe. I recommend just buying the whole assembly from us. It should be releasing, I want to say, the beginning of December, and the price point's going to be around $250 to $300. But if you're pretty technical and you can feel like you can do some of this stuff yourself, you can pick up the Honda Accord one with the non-navigation harness and then make your own setup. But if you're looking for what's exactly in this video, I'm going to put a link down below for pre-orders so that you have an idea of how much it's going to cost you and when you can actually get your hands on it. And it's going to work exactly how I showed you earlier in the video. Alright, now with that out of the way, I'm going to show you how to take the car apart so you can get to the areas you need to connect the harnesses. And I'm going to show you how to put this together just in case you're not buying one from us. And then I'll show you how all the connections go outside the car, and I'll try to show you what I can inside the car. So let's get started. To complete the install, you're going to need a few tools, but they're not really complex. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver, a good tip, a trim panel removal tool to get rid of plastics without damaging them. Then I recommend an 8mm socket for those screws for the radio that are a little tough. And then something to hold your screws in. This is up to you. The screws you're going to be dealing with look like this. So they have a Phillips or 8mm head, or if not, just straight Phillips. They're going to be different colors, silver or black. That's really it. If you're trying to figure out where to get these tools, we do sell a toolkit. I think it's $9.99 on our website. Brings a screwdriver and some trim panel removal tools. This makes it easier than having to hunt everything down if you don't have the tools. But alright, that's going to cover the tools. Let's jump into the disassembly inside the car. Alright, before we jump forward with any disassembly, you're going to want to get your radio codes. And your radio and your navigation code are going to be in your glove box in this, or sometimes they're right there. You see those stickers? Those are my codes. It's hard to see because of the light. But I'm going to show you here. Go in here, one of these books, I think this one right here, it's my maintenance journal, yep, and usually right in the front of your maintenance journal are your codes. So it says Navi stock code and audio code. Those are the codes you're going to need if you start unplugging stuff and plugging stuff back in. So I've mentioned it in other videos, I just want to reiterate. The 2009 and 2010 Acura TSX are different than the 2011, 12, 13, and 14 Acura TSX. When you have navigation, the navigation system is different. The base system's the same, navigation is different, because even though it looks the same here in the front, although this does look a little different, it's no longer a 6 CD changer, it's just a navigation drive. Here, the navigation drive's in the trunk. So this is your navigation drive right here. The reason why I'm bringing all this up is because this is going to make interfacing with the system a little different. For our install, certain parts you're going to be able to follow step by step if you have an 11, 12, 13. Other parts I'm going to fill you in with the information, but I won't be able to show you on video. I just want to make sure I cover that because I know you're going to take your car apart and be like, whoa, mine doesn't look like this, and that is why. This is just held in with clips, but this climate control is hooked into it, so we need to take this panel off and this panel off to be able to get to this, to then pop this out. This is just clipped on, but we'll cover that last. So the first things first is we're going to need to pop this up so that we can get to the screws. There we go. This, unlike the previous year, is not metal on plastic, so it's a lot harder to break, but it can break and snap, so you still want to be super careful. After you pop this side loose, there's an edge right here you can use to pop the top panel off, and you're just going to use a little bit of force, but you see it's coming out. Now this edge is up, we're just going to come under the shifter and use that to pop that edge, and then come on, pop up there. After you pop this out, there's two connectors for the seat heaters, and they just have little tabs on them. You'll see that once you get one out, you can kind of spin it like this and get this one out. And here's what I'm talking about. These are the two seat heaters that you have to disconnect, and these are all the clips. Again, they're not metal, they're plastic, so it's easy to pop out. It won't break. You just have to be very careful like I was. And then these connectors are pretty easy to get off. You just press and slide down. With that out, we can then pull this screw out, then pull this screw out. It's here and there. You can begin prying this up and out. So just like that, you lift up and towards you. It is going to take some strength, but it will just pop out just like that. And you could set that to the side. The other side is tricky. You don't want to do this first. You want to get this out first. You're just going to come here and pull. Just want to be very careful. You never want to break anything, so you always want to pull with moderate force. It's just going to give eventually, like that. There we go. So it's just a bunch of plastic clips, not going to break, but you do want to be careful when you're pulling it. And now pull from right here. That'll freeze that up. And now you can, oh, sorry, I forgot. The whole reason why you have to pull this off is because there is a screw here. So far we've taken 3 screws off total, and now we can get this. With those trim pieces out of the way, we can undo this screw. We can undo this screw. Then this one on this side, and this one on this side. These are silver. That means we have 7 screws total. Put those back there, and now I can just slide this out. So I just lift it up and out. That out of the way, I don't need to disconnect it. I just need to slide it out of the way. And now I can begin prying on this so that it comes out. This is the hardest part about this, is getting it away from this. And it's just prying real carefully, because this will take an imprint. So if you're sitting here and you go like this, you're gonna mark this, and you don't want that. So okay, there we go. Let me undo that. And then the vents slide all the way in, so those will be in as well. So now I'm going to disconnect my connectors back here. They're all just pull tabs. There's 3 of them. So there you go. One here, one here, and one here. Here's our panel. And the only reason we pulled this out for this install is so we can reach to the back of our unit and connect the harnesses that we need to connect. Now we're gonna pull our display. To get our display out, you need to pry underneath like this, and the clips should release. It's just gonna take a little bit of force. So there we go. Then you tilt it forward. It should clear. Slide it this way, and you can disconnect these 2 connectors. 2 pull tabs again. So 1, then 2. And now my display is free. Pull out our climate control, disconnect it, put that to the side. Now we need to deal with this. In order to get to this drive, you have to pull this pocket out. So this just has 1 clip. You pull up towards you. Then you have another screw down here. 8 screws so far. And now you can unclip this. It is going to be clipped in there pretty good, but it's just going to take a little bit of force. You can unclip it. Then you have the cigarette lighter. You pinch here in the middle. Let me get you there. So you pinch here in the middle, and that's loose. It does have a, I'm not sure how to explain it, like the tab, that whole, the wire that plugs into here is held on by a clip down here. So we need to just press that clip in, and you could do this with the Phillips screwdriver like I just did, and just pressing it in. This is clipped in here, so you can pull this out. Okay, now we're up to the big bad boy. This is held in by 4 screws. I'm going to show them to you. They're really in there. So 1, 2, then 3, then 4, deep down in there. So I'm just going to reach in with my long screwdriver. This is why you wanted it to be magnetic. It's barely going to make it, or if not, your really long extension where it's just barely going to reach. Come on. There we go. And now I can begin to get it out. So there it comes. This is exactly why you want a magnetic screwdriver, so that getting to these isn't impossible. Putting these back is very, very annoying. A magnetic bit is going to be your best bet, or a screwdriver that has a magnetic tip. Otherwise, you're just going to keep dropping the screw every time you go to put it in. Okay. All right, guys, so when you go to slide this out, you want to be very careful not to scratch this. What you can do is you can make sure your parking brake is up and then hit the shift lock release. Should be under here. I'm just going to pop this out to get to it. So pop that out. Pop that out real quick. Take your screwdriver. Take your screwdriver, press it in. That lets you move it out of the way. You can put this back now. With that out of the way, we can slide this forward and not worry about scratching anything or anything being in our way. It's going to be tight, and remember, before you disconnect this, you want to make sure you had your radio code. I'm not actually going to disconnect anything right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to install our T-harness. So I'm going to grab this connector right here, wiggle it out, grab our T-harness, plug in the right side. This is the right side. And then plug in it back in. Okay, then I'm going to slide this back into place. Let me make sure that I don't lose my climate control connections. Okay, it's gonna go in there. There we go. Here's my input. Make sure I don't lose that. There we go. My audio intercept, or my audio into the factory radio. So I just ran my T-harness, hooked up my RCAs. Then I can go to connect my screen. My screen's gonna have a RCA out, audio out. So that's audio in. That's audio in. It's these two right here are gonna be audio out R and audio out L. So I'm gonna take those audio R. I'm gonna take audio R out and audio L out, hook those up to here. Then I'm gonna take this connection and hook it up to this 28 pin connector right here. And now the only other thing I have to do is transfer this switch and leave it back there so that it doesn't leave my light on for the SRS or airbag module. But let's give my system a test. Everything should turn on. There we go, my radio's turning on. Let's go to radio. Let's plug in our control panel just so we can make sure that all the information comes up. All right, so we got the time, we got the audio. We're gonna go XM because that's what's gonna play audio from here. We're gonna go apps, and then we're just gonna play a video. This should have like a video built in. And then we're gonna raise the volume. All right, cool. I know you're probably thinking, he connected everything really fast. I didn't really get to see what he connected. So I'm gonna show you here on the bench. I'm gonna show you the connections first, then I'll show you how to put this thing together in case you're using your own. So for the connections, you're going to need to disconnect the two connectors that were here on the screen. This we did in our disassembly. I'll show you close real quick. So inside the car, you would have to twist this to expose this connector. Then you can slide it out, and then this one you can press down and slide it out. Something that's extremely important is that you carry this over. So there is no new mount for this. There is no location where to put it. You're just gonna zip tie it in place behind the screen. So we wanna take it out, we wanna keep it, we wanna plug it back in, and at the end we're just gonna zip tie this in place because we're no longer going to use this. You do, possibly depending on where you got your dash kit from, you want to save and transfer these. Sometimes they send these. 9 out of 10 times they don't send extra clips, so you need to take these out. These are a little bit longer. They're not your traditional Honda clips, so you do want to be careful, but a nice pick tool like this will get them to release. This is what they look like. You see they are a little longer. They're not the traditional white Honda clip that you see everywhere else. These are, if you're looking for these, look up for Toyota clips. That's more what they're like than the Honda ones. But hopefully, if you order from us, they're going to come with it. If not, you're going to have to find some on your own. But that takes care of the screen connection. Then, behind, up at the screen, we're now going to plug in our harness. To make sure no pins are bent, you can see all our pins are straight. So this is just one little pin. There you go. Went in the wrong way. Now it's going to clip in. This is how it's going to stay up there. So after you make that connection, it clicks into place. You want to make the connections to your screen. Your harness is going to look a little bit different, but this connector is going to be the exact same for every single screen. So this, even though it's missing some wires, it's going to plug right into here. So just like that. Then you're going to have two RCAs. They're both going to be yellow. One RCA is going to come directly from the connector. It's going to say cam. This one's not labeled. Yours will say cam. The other connector is going to come from the converter. It's going to say nav. And those are going to hook up into special connections here at the screen. So depending where you got your screen, there's going to be a ton of connections that come with it. This is just a universal screen. So these are all the connectors that come with it. What we're really worried about for our install is this main connection right here that has a bunch of RCAs, our USB ports that are right here, and then our backup camera connection. So this connector right here is white, and it's going to have subwoofer out, it's going to have audio in, and it's going to have, most importantly, audio out. So you have audio out R and audio out L. And these are the ones that connect to our T harness. So audio out R, audio out L are what get hooked up to our RCAs. So white to white, red to red, and this is what runs down to our T harness. So your harness could also possibly look like this, where it's a lot more simple. You see the connectors are the same. We still have audio out R and audio out L, but there is less connectors here available. So you could have either or. The way these plug into the screen is right up here. This is going to go face down like so, and it will click in place. Then we have our backup camera connection, which is super important, and that's going to be this last connector here. So this one right here, it's going to go right there. So now we need to connect the rest of our harness that was in the car to the screen, and for that we're going to go to our video ports. So remember, the one coming out of the connector, which is labeled cam, goes to your cam in. Then your navigation, which is coming from the video converter, goes into CBS 1. So I'll show you right now. CBS 1 is where the navigation goes, and then your cam goes into cam video in on a whole separate harness. That takes care of the video portion and the power portion. Now what we need to take care of is the audio side. So let's look at what we need to connect for that. So this isn't a TSX, but the connections are the same for the ones we're worried about. On the edge of your factory navigation unit is going to be this white connector. This is your XM input. What we're going to do is we're going to take our T harness, we're going to plug it into our T harness, and then we're going to plug in the other side back into the radio. It's going to click in. Now you know you're good. These have to run up to our screen to audio RL to audio R out and audio L out. The way we're going to connect those is with a pair of RCA wires. They're going to be included with your radio. They're a little 3-footer. This is longer than that, but this is then going to run up to the screen we just talked about, and connect to audio R out and audio L out. And this is how audio is fed from the screen to the factory radio, and you activate it by selecting XM on the factory radio. So depending on the specifications of your Android stereo, there might be other connections that need to be made. USB is one of them you're always going to make. So this is just going to plug right in here, and you just press it down and lock in. Then you do have your GPS antenna and your 4G antenna. Also, your SIM card goes in this tray right here if your radio has it. And then you have an external microphone if you want to install it. You don't have to. Your radio or Android screen does have a microphone right on the face. But these are all additional accessories that you have to install, and both antennas just screw into place, and you have to install them in your dash. So that covers all our connections. Now let's talk about putting together the dash kit. So our factory screen is clipped in place with these 4 clips, and it's pressed into place. You're going to do the same with this kit, or this dash kit. This is the piece that mimics the factory screen. You're going to push this into place, and then these are going to snap into this. And ultimately this is what you end up with, and there is a good cavity here to hide wires and other things from your stereo. So let me show you how it goes together. Before you do anything, you want to install the Android screen to your mount, and you're just going to slide all the wiring through, and then the screen should just fall into place. There should be no resistance. It should just kind of slide right into place just like that. And then there are 4 mounting screws on the back that hold it into place. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can do the mounting of the screen and the wiring first or second, it's up to you, but your next step has to come after all the wiring is done. This is going to clip in place like this. So this kind of looks like exposed plastic, and that's how it will look. This has 2 clips, one right there, one right there. They lock into place. Just, you know, a little massaging patience. So once locked into place, you then have a screw here that needs to get installed and a screw here that needs to get installed. I don't remember the size of the screws. I'll throw it on the screen when I find out. Then this clips into this like so, and this side as well. So come on, both sides are clipped in, and that's how it's held in the car. And then this is clipped into the location where the factory screen was clipped into, and that pressure and just the cavity hold it all in place. These clips may be included or not included with your kit depending where you order it from. I talked about them earlier. I just want to show you how they snap in real quick. So you just slide them into place, and they just slide in like that. They're pretty good at holding, but you'll find if you're like maneuvering this around, it might come loose, so just be aware of that. But that covers our wiring and how to put together our dash kit. Before we wrap up the video, we need to talk about the factory backup camera and the wiring necessary to retain it. So the harness that I showed you earlier already gives you your video feed. So if you hit camera, the feed will come up. But if you put your car in reverse without doing this next step, the screen won't auto switch. So in your TSX, the navigation drive is what receives the reverse signal. In your 2009 and 2010, that navigation drive is in the trunk, so the reverse signal is in the trunk. In your 2011, 12, 13, the reverse signal comes behind the radio, so you can just wiretap a wire behind the radio. If you're not comfortable wiretapping, you can just go all the way to the tail light and splice the wire back there. It's the easiest, but you will have to run a wire up to the stereo, and that's not how I'm going to show you in this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to tap the fuse box for the reverse trigger and which wire to tap. And then I'm also going to show you how to upgrade to an AHD camera if you want to. So these often come with your Android screens, and they have these 2 connectors right here, and you can swap this for this with this harness that we offer and make it all plug and play. You just have to make sure that you make the right selections at checkout if you're getting this from us to make it all work together. So I'm going to show you how to transfer this camera to this mount, and then I'm going to show you how to do the wiretapping at the fuse box, And then if you have a 2011, 12, 13, I'll show you which connector and which pin you have to wiretap and where to connect it on the aftermarket radio. So first things first is we need to get the camera off of the mount. So for that, we're going to remove this big screw and this big screw down here. Okay. So after we remove those two screws, this easily comes apart. But the issue you will have is that this can't come through here. So what you're supposed to do is remove these two screws. Gonna need a smaller screwdriver. Those two screws, you'll see there's a ribbon connector here that goes inside the camera. Now you can just forcefully pull this, or you can open the camera up. So after removing those two screws, if you don't ride the short bus like me and you were trying to break this, there's actually an easy way to get it apart. Down in the same screws that were holding it to the bracket, so the two big screws you took out before, if you go further in, there's another screw there that you can remove. And it's very small. I'll show it to you once it's out. Gotta keep going. And they're Phillips screws. I'll show you the tip in just a second. So this is how small my tip is. And once those two screws are loose, you can just separate this like so. And here, it's going to be very hard to see, but there, right there, is the ribbon cable that you can slide up. Come on. I know that was hard to see, but you're going to slide that up like so. That'll release the ribbon cable, and now you can remove it from the camera. And if you ever wondered what the inside of your camera looks like, it looks like there's multiple boards together here. So this might be like a power supply, and then the board below it is your actual camera. You see there's all kinds of chips in here, so it's not just a little camera. It has multiple things going on. But alright, so I'm going to put that back together, and then to screw it back, you're just going to put this casing back into place. So now that my wire is out of my camera, I can remove this and use this to mount my new camera. So now I'm going to take these two screws. So now we're working on the AHD camera. I'm going to take these two screws out, mount it against this to mount my camera in place. So I'll show you real quick. I'm going to slide my wires through. So one slides in, then you can do the other. It is a little tough to do, but very possible. Just make sure you get the wires to the side so they both go in no problem. That goes in no problem. Now my camera is going to face this way like so. So there we go. You can see that the base is extremely similar, so my camera will rest there. Now I need to screw the back into place. And that's where this gap right here exposes the two screw locations, and you're going to take this and screw it through, so it'll end up squeezing the camera into place. I'll show you what I mean. Let me grab a screw here. The screws that came out of this right here, they were on this. You're going to repurpose and use for this. So you see I got one in already. Alright, so now my camera is all set and locked into place. My screws are both in. Now I need to connect my harness to my new harness. So this is going to connect right here, and this is going to connect right here. And you can see we have the same connector that the old camera connector used to have. So this will plug right in. This, you're secure to ground if you're going to be using the OEM screen. But since we're using the Android screen, you don't need to worry about this. You can always ground it if you want, just as an extra thing. But there you go. So that's how you upgrade the camera with the AHD camera. If you don't want to be bothered with all of this, you don't have to take this apart. You can purchase the camera from us that goes in the license plate light. So this camera clips into your license plate light housing, which is right next to the OEM cam. Basically, OEM cam's kind of like over here, and then this will clip right into place over here. So they're minimal distance apart. And this also has a plug and play harness into this. So you have multiple options. AHD is going to be the clearest on the Android screen, but the angle's a little too low. You don't see that much behind you. This one has a better angle because of how it clips, but it's all up to you. You can always just use the universal housing that it comes in, and you could have mounted this here and made some creative mount, but I think most people are going to want OEM, so this is probably what makes the most sense. But now that we covered how to mount or how to connect your camera, let me show you how to tap that reverse trigger wire and install it into your Android screen. If you're looking for a reverse trigger and you don't want to go all the way to the tail light, or you're going to keep the factory backup camera on an aftermarket radio, you don't want to have to do all that. On the 2009, 2010, there is no reverse trigger behind the radio, so you have to get it from the fuse box. On the 11, 12, 13, 14, it is behind the radio, so you don't have to do this step, but I'll show you which wire you're going to tap. So if you come under here and we go behind, here's a fuse box. If we go behind it, these two junction boxes are hooked up with tape. If you undo the tape, this is the second one. It goes gray, blue, brown. The light blue wire on the blue plug is your reverse trigger, and you can see there's my wire tap. And this is the wire you're gonna have to run from here up to behind the radio. That wire that we ran is right here, and we can hook it up to our screen to trigger our backup camera. Here's my screen. Let's pretend it's installed in the car. Everything else is hooked up. The harness that provides power, this primary harness right here, is going to have a pink wire. This pink wire is my reverse input trigger. So this is where I have to connect the wire that I run either from my tail light, the fuse box, or behind the radio, depending on my install. And all you're going to do is strip some of it away, strip the wire that you ran, and connect these together. You could use a crimp cap, tape, twist them together. You just want to make sure you don't leave this like this. You do put some sort of tape or something over it to cover the connection. I recommend soldering or at least a crimp cap. I don't recommend doing this, what I'm showing you on video, but this is how you would connect your reverse trigger. After this connection is made, when you put the car in reverse, this will auto switch like earlier in the video to show the reverse feed. So make sure you make that connection, because if you don't, your camera will not auto show when you're in reverse. Also, I showed you where to wiretap for a 2009, 2010. I'm going to show you on screen with some diagrams what wire to tap on a 2011, 12, 13, 14, so that you don't have to do the wire tapping at the fuse box. So let me show you that next. Alright, what I'm about to show you is not exactly what is on the back of your car. So you want connector H, it's 28 pins. This is from a TL, but the purpose is the same. You're going to disconnect it from the back of the radio, and then you want to undo some of this tape so that you can do your wire tap cleanly. To undo the tape, you want to find where it ends, or you want to get something to be able to slice it open. Here, all I have is just a simple flush cutter, and I'm just going to start cutting away the tape. You want to be careful, make sure you only cut the tape and not anything else. Otherwise you're going to cut a wire and that's going to ruin your whole day. So once you get some of the tape back, you can actually just peel it away like so and keep peeling. It's just electrical tape, and then you're going to keep peeling back. Eventually you're going to get a good amount of wire to show. Got the tape as far as we could. This is the wire we're going to tap. This isn't the exact wire you're tapping, this is just demonstration. Remember, yours is light blue, pin 28. Come with your wire stripper, separate the wires so you expose the copper. Then take another piece of wire and wrap it around the exposed copper. You can solder here if you want. You can tape or heat shrink, cut and heat shrink. It's up to you, but you want to make sure you get a solid connection around the copper, and then you can add a little bit of electrical tape. And I always like adding a zip tie so that the tape doesn't come out. So just like that, then a little zip tie so that the tape doesn't undo itself. And that's how you would tap the wire in 2011, 12, 13, 14. You would run this now up to the screen, and this is what will trigger your radio to auto switch. Alright, now that I showed you how to wire the camera, let me show you how to install it and swap out the new HD camera for the OEM cam. Alright, so in order to get to our backup camera connector, we need to get this trim off. To get this trim off, you're going to need a clip removal tool. You're just going to slide it behind the clip and then pull it out just like that. And we just got a bunch to do. It's really easy, you just want to make sure you get all of them. I did run into two other special clips. This one right here, you have to pop up so that the bottom piece separates from the top piece. And then this one has a screw. You want to add pressure to the inside of this to get the screw out, but both are easy to remove. And now we can start messing with this to get it out. We don't really need to go that far. This is the connector we need to get to. This is the connector for your factory backup camera. This down a bit, put our connector in, verified our camera works. Now we're gonna slide our camera out. To get our camera out, this just has clips. You're gonna take a trim panel tool, pry right against there. So just like this, pry right against there, pry that out. This will come out. Then your camera from behind, inside the trunk, you're just gonna slide it out of the way. The only thing that's holding us now, right now, the camera's loose, is this clip. So we'll take our clip removal tool. Actually, we're gonna use that clip. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna slide this forward. It will eventually release and give us our camera. Our matching harness just plugs right in, and it gives me the connections for my new backup camera right here. So in the back, we release our clip, this plastic clip. Just reach in and clip it together, and then you can bring your camera out the front. Here's the connector, here's the clip. I'm going to transfer the clip from this harness to this one, and then we'll mount. All right guys, so our camera is all zip tied in place and mounted. Now we're just going to put this back. Our trunk liner is back, all our clips are back. Our new camera is in. Here's our old camera. Let's take a look at what it looks like. All right, so I'm going to show you the cameras. First, I'm going to show you the OEM cam. It does not look that good. So that was the OEM cam. Now I'm going to show you the AHD camera that comes with the screen. So this is the AHD camera. You can see that my angle is smaller, so I only see kind of really immediately behind me, but it's super clear. If you were to mount this camera a little bit more up, you'd see more behind you. I'm going to wrap this video up with a super important message. This upgrade is a visual / entertainment upgrade only. It's not any sort of audio upgrade for your audio system. So it's not going to be louder. It's not going to sound better. There are some circumstances where it will, but do not expect that. What you are getting here is a touchscreen that has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It has nav, depending on which version you get. It can run apps depending on which version you get. But don't expect this to sound better than the factory system. Don't expect it to be able to run a huge aftermarket system. This is only a screen. Even though it is a full Android stereo, I want you to think of it as only a screen. It's only a visual upgrade with some added functionality. If you want an audio upgrade, you want to check out our double DIN installation video that's launching alongside this video, or I think a few days later. That video, when you install an aftermarket double DIN with a quality double DIN, does allow for an audio upgrade and an entertainment upgrade, but this is just an entertainment / visual feature upgrade. There is no audio enhancement, so I want to make that clear. You don't run subs off this screen, you don't run amps off this screen. Everything still goes to the factory system, and you have to integrate into the factory system just like if you were fully stock. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about making this upgrade and you're considering, I still want an audio upgrade, I want to run aftermarket amps. This is not the install for that. Also, if you have a base model, we'll be covering how to install this screen in a base model as well, but this is the tech package only. So if you have navigation from 2009 all the way to 2014, this video shows you how to complete the installation. If you're looking for the products that you saw on the screen, you can find them on our website. We're taking pre-orders. It's going to be launching soon. All the details will be down in the description and on that link. So if you're looking for this stuff, check the YouTube comments and the YouTube description of the video. That's where you'll find everything you're looking for. There's probably going to be a lot of questions, so feel free to leave them down in the comments and we'll answer them as they come up. That's going to wrap up the video, guys. I appreciate you watching. I hope this information was helpful. I hope this is the solution you were looking for. There's been a lot of people. I talked to a lot of different Acura owners. And it's always, I want to keep my navigation for some weird reason, but I want Apple CarPlay, I want Android Auto, I want a new screen. So I think this covers that, and I hope this helps you out.